Hello, everyone. As you're joining, we're happy to hear you have you here today. You are in the right place. Just starting a few minutes early so people can join. But grab your coffee, and as I said, we're happy to have you. We're just opening up the webinar a few minutes early so people can join and get comfortable. Do tell us in the chat where you're calling in from. We always love to see where people are in the world. I am in Silicon Valley, California, Sunnyvale, and Davida, where are you today?
I'm in Vancouver in Canada. It's
Vancouver.
wonderful. It's so sunny today. I'm so happy.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're going to get started at the top of the hour, but glad you're here. Oh, we've got somebody in the chat.
From
Davida,
Maine. What's the weather like in Maine right now?
and what city in Maine? Yeah. Do tell us, folks, where you're calling in from. Use the chat, and we've just opened up the webinar a bit early so people can join and get comfortable. Get your coffee, get your tea. You will need a pad of paper. We do have one exercise that I'm going to have you do, so make sure you have some paper handy.
You have Mitchell, Ontario, and Northern Colorado, the Front Range.
That's awesome.
I love that everyone can join from all over. That's awesome. Sun's finally out after a few days.
I always wonder when we get the Aussies in. It's too early for Australia, but UK could join.
We have a lot of Canadians here.
Yeah.
I'm stoked.
We do, because I'm Canadian as well as you.
Yeah, and we have a couple in the audience too. So.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, we're happy you could join us, folks. We know it's a busy time of year. We did open up the webinar just a few minutes early so people could join. Hope that Kamloops, lovely area, Kirsten, sorry.
And right before we started, we were talking about the extremely windy weather that you had, Allison.
Yeah, we had a lot of wind, trees blowing down, and the Bay Area had about half of it had no power, but I was actually very lucky. Mine didn't go out. It's funny, at times like that, you just feel so thankful just to have the basics.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, we're going to actually officially start at the top of the hour, but right now we're just chatting and letting people come in.
Do you have a drink, Allison? A glass of water? Oh, great. Always need my coffee in the morning.
A caffeine-based creature like myself.
Yep.
That's probably the one vice that they would have to pry out of my cold, dead hands. Be like, I don't care. If coffee's bad for you, I don't want to live. Oh, Santa Cruz. Hi, Bev. I'm not too far away. Yes, very, very intense weather. Gosh. Yeah, Santa Cruz County just got pummeled this winter. Just pummeled. Yeah. You gotta be a pretty tough stuff to live there, although it's really lovely when the sun is out. Yeah. All right, now people are really flying in. Welcome, everybody. We're really happy to have you. We're going to start in about 2 minutes. We've just opened up the webinar a little early just so people can join and get comfy. Do get a cup of tea, cup of coffee, whatever your pleasure is, and have a pad of paper handy because we do have one exercise that we're going to do. And I like to reward people for being on time. So as soon as we hit the top of the hour, boom, off we go. If you want to tell us where you're calling in from, it's really fun. Oh, Bev's saying up from water and not under trees. Yeah, just don't go anywhere near those flooded roads. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
That's great advice for anybody. Don't ever drive over a flooded road. You don't know what's underneath it. And you can get swept away. All right, folks, we're just about to get started. I love that you've joined us today. I know it's a very busy time of year. I like to be very prompt, so I'm going to start. Oh, I'm going to start now. All right. So officially, welcome to our webinar today, How Busy Firm Leaders Can Have Good Days, even during tax season. My name is Allison Ball. I'm going to introduce myself a little later, but I just want to tell you, we have a jam-packed agenda for you today. And I've got my partner in crime, Davita, and she is shortly going to go off video, but she'll be helping with the Q&A and the chat. So if you want to chat with someone, put it in the chat. If it's a question, put it in the Q&A, and then we'll be able to cover it. So let's get going. All right, so we have a lot to cover today, and what we're going to do is set a sort of a vision exercise, then look at your current situation. What are you currently experiencing? And then we're going to get into the root cause and go with some solutions. And then at the end, you'll be able to create your plan. And I'm hoping that we will have time for Q&A. However, I encourage you to put it in as you go. So if you've seen me present before, you know that I really love to start with the end in mind, to set that vision of what your life could feel like. So I want you all to just close your eyes and think about, what would it feel like if your days were, if you just woke up feeling really good? You came into your workplace, maybe it's at home or you have an office, but you come into where you do your work and you have everything that you need to complete your client work, and it's all organized, it's in one place, and you know what to do. Your clients are responding quickly, your team, if you have, and some of you work alone, you still have a team because you still have people around you that, other professionals that you collaborate with. But however you define your team, you can collaborate easily with those folks. And you have time to provide the valuable services to clients versus just being reactionary. You don't feel like you're a firefighter, you feel like you're a proactive advisor. And then I think the most important thing is, you're not throwing your entire life at your job. So you're able to go for wine tasting. Here I am down in Central Coast at Carmel Valley at Gioris wine tasting. And you have your evenings and weekends for your family, friends, and your hobbies. So I want you to have that in your mind, that this is the vision. If you can get your days organized and just have good days instead of just feeling like you're being controlled. So I love this picture of this woman here. She represents the vitality and energy that I would love to approach every one of my days with. I just see joy in this picture. And I just wanted to sort of share this, that this is the type of joy and passion and just excitement that I'd like to see in your faces. Now, I'm super excited today to be presenting along with the as a part of the Successful Bookkeeper program. We work with in my role at Liscio, and this is actually a webinar that's being presented from the Grove, which is our learning platform. It's platform agnostic, but in both roles that I have, my joy is to really help work with and on behalf of accountants and bookkeepers. And one kind of interesting thing about me is that I absolutely have no time for mean people. And what I mean by that is, everyone can have a bad day. However, if you consistently show up as someone who is just going to be mean and nasty consistently, I pretty much don't want to work with you. So I have no time for mean people, and I love to help other people succeed. And I think that as bookkeepers, that's what aligns us, is that we love to do that. I also am a former bookkeeper. I should mention that as well. And I love I love everything about the bookkeeping community and how you work with your clients. Now, what I'd like to do is to check in, where are you now? So we've talked about the vision and where you'd like to be, but where are you now? And this is the exercise I told you about as you were joining the webinar. So I'd like you to take a moment, and Davida, I'm going to ask you just to put sort of 30 seconds on the clock. I'd like you all to write down what your average workday feels like now. And use descriptive words. Try and get to the sort of emotional side of what your workday feels like now. You might think about your biggest challenges, or you might think about how you feel at the end of the day, or how you feel during the day. It's very personal. But what does your average workday feel like now? So let's just give that a 30 seconds, Davida, if you wouldn't mind.
Absolutely.
I feel like I should be humming the Jeopardy word. Da, da, da,
Mm.
da, da, da.
We're at 10 more seconds.
Okay, yeah. So we'll just count it down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, that was a pretty fast exercise. If you feel like you need more time, you can do it out on your own time. But I'm just wondering, were any of these things on your list? And feel free to put in the chat if you feel like, yes, we nailed it. This is a list of things that I have compiled in speaking to accounting professionals, whether bookkeepers or accountants or tax pros, really all of you. Not enough hours in the day, feeling disorganized, feeling chaos, very much worrying that things will slip through the cracks. There's a feeling of frustration when clients don't respond quickly, or they seem to ignore your emails. I know particularly at tax time, or when there's a deadline, that can be very stressful. What about chasing clients for documents, having to feel like, look, I've asked these for you, why aren't you sending them? Some folks feel like there's maybe some security worries, that you're worried about something happening.
Yeah, Allison, everyone's agreeing. And the biggest challenge is to get all data from clients to do the work, says Lisa, and everyone's agreed. And all
Yeah, it feels like this is just like, this is a shared misery, right? That everyone has. And it has to do with the fact that you actually can't do your work unless you get everything you need. What about too many places to look, or clients texting you? So I think those sorts of things are issues as well. So what I wanted to basically help everyone understand here is that you're not alone. And in order to look at that, I first wanted to say, well, the accounting industry as a profession is really an awesome, awesome profession to get into. And I know that these were the things that I really loved about it when I was, leading an outsourced accounting or bookkeeping group in Santa Cruz, California. Very large, quite a large firm. We had 170 clients that we served, and we did kind of soup to nuts all of their bookkeeping. They tended to do their invoicing, but we did everything else. And what I loved was the relationships, the depth of relationships that we had with our clients, the diversity of the businesses that we could serve. We had a lot of fun solving the problems. And I know that you share this with me, where you love helping people succeed. So it's a really awesome profession to be in. But why don't we love our jobs? And why do we tend to be all stressed out? And, some of the things that you said in the chat, why are our days like that? Well, the data is actually backing it up. And this is where I feel this made me very sad when we were doing the research for this presentation. 5,000 odd accounting professionals responded with 2.3 stars out of 5 when told how meaningful is your job. And I thought, oh gosh. Now, this was not cut on bookkeepers. I think bookkeepers might have had a higher score, but the meaningful part was really interesting. And I decided to kind of look in deeply into, well, what was preventing people from it being meaningful? And why is there so much frustration? Like, why, well, I think we answered it earlier, where you feel like you just don't have your clients aren't part of your team, maybe sometimes, and there's these speed bumps, these road bumps in the way, but blockers in the way. And that's why some of us feel fed up or with some or all of our clients. I hope it's only a few clients that you really feel fed up with, because the clients are, I'm going to give you a hint that a quote unquote bad client may not actually be a bad client. And we're going to get into that a little later in the presentation. I'm going to tell you why they may not be bad clients. But the issue really is that they probably, when you look at the root cause of this, it's probably a systems issue, like a technology issue or an approach issue. So I always like to walk in clients' shoes and figure out what's going on with them. And I'm always very fascinated with the problem versus the symptoms. Now, the symptoms of them not being able to work with your systems were all listed in that earlier exercise that where you mentioned the pains and the stresses and things that you were having. But we'll get into this as we go. But I want you to keep in mind that your bad clients may only be bad because of a system issue, not because of a personal issue. They're not mean people, if that makes any sense. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is staffing levels and how many of you actually feel short-staffed. This is a challenge right now because if you do want to hire, there's this perception problem about the business, about the industry. And this also makes me really sad too, because you can take vacations. You don't have to work long hours and it doesn't have to be frustrating work, but it is fueled by this current perception problem is fueled by the current poor experience in many firms. But the great news is that you can actually do something about it. And that's what this presentation is about, is helping you figure out what are the things that you actually can control and how can you take back your day and structure it in a way that you are having good days instead of being that firefighter or being reactionary. So let's talk about the root cause, and then we're going to flip into the solutions. And the root cause is that there really is an elephant in the when you went into the industry, no one actually told you this, what's on this slide right now, that accounting is actually 2 jobs in one. And half of it is the job that you really love to do. And that's what you signed on to do. You signed on to create order out of chaos, reconcile everything, make everything beautiful, get the numbers to tell a story. That's what I always loved, is I always loved the story that the numbers told. But the other half is, and I'm not actually sure if this is a word, drudgerous, but if it isn't, I made it up. It should be a word. It's drudgerous admin. And that just saps our energy to the point where we just go, ugh, this is just awful. This is just awful, awful, awful. And it becomes so frustrating and it becomes so overwhelming that you start to feel actually kind of negative about your job sometimes. So if you are feeling that, you are not alone, and there is a reason, and it's because you are unable to do the joyful work because you're being pulled away by kind of the non-value add stuff, the admin stuff. So why do we have so much admin? Let's start asking these questions. Why? Why do we have so much? Well, the root cause of this is that we are actually giving our clients too many ways to communicate with us. Now, CX stands for client experience. So now we're thinking about how are our clients working with our systems. Now, a client experience 1.0 firm is a kind of what you'd maybe think of as kind of an old school firm. Some of you may have worked at these firms and then possibly left and started your own firm, or went to work for a more what you would think of progressive sort of tech forward firm. But it actually, for the accountants and the bookkeepers who worked at these firms, it was pretty good because there was really only email, phone, fax, and snail mail, and clients would come into your office. They would actually come in to talk to you and you'd exchange documents that way. So I know we are going back a ways in time, but some of you may be old enough to remember this. It was actually pretty good, but it wasn't very good from a client experience. And the reason is that the clients had to, it's kind of like the banks. The banks used to be where you had to go to the bank. Everything was on the bank's terms. So in the client experience 1.0 world, everything was on the accountant and the bookkeepers, the firm side. Now, what happened was some of those firms decided to create, or you started a new firm, and you really became quite tech forward. And that was then everything exploded. And that's when you still got a ton of email, your phone. Now you've got cell phones and your office phone. People are texting you. You've got some snail mail coming in. You still got to deal with that. But you've got electronic signatures. You've got a document portal. You've got texting. And sometimes people send pictures. You've got to figure out how to get your clients to encrypt emails because they don't use your portal and it's not secure. Open emails, social media messages. People will even send things through WhatsApp. I heard one practitioner tell me earlier this year that they were getting messages on Instagram. Like people were DMing Instagram. I was like, okay, that's not the place to send information. But the reason they did that is because this is what they have in their hand. They have their phone. They're not at their desks all day, and your clients are busy. And so what are they doing all day? So this is where you got to think about, what are your clients doing all day? Because they're not sitting at their desk waiting for an email from you. I can tell you, they are not. And so when you bring everything into one place for your clients, you actually are. So there's a tech part of the solution, but I wanted to introduce this. Why are we having to deal with so much admin? Why are we having to look in so many places? And if you hear these things from your clients, they didn't check their email. Can you resend the files? Can I text you a picture of the document? Can I text you my social or my social security or my social insurance number? No, you can't text that. No, no. The link you sent expired. I can't log into the portal. I'll have to wait till I'm in the office. So if any of these things sound familiar, this is a symptom of the fact that you're not making it easy for your clients. And this causes a loop of pain. So if you start at the top, the client is requesting the work and we get excited. Yay, we get to do work for a client. Then we immediately send the request that the information we need. Most of the time, people are sending this over email with a long list of documents. And then what happens? You wait. And then you have to hound. And then you wait. And then the client responds late. And then you have to plug that gap with your time. And in the meantime, if they do send things, they've probably sent it in a way that is not helping you. So it's a real loop of pain. And the result is stress for you. Wasted time. You can't grow without adding staff. You aren't getting to focus on the joyful work. A lot of times it's adding to confusion and disorganization, and you have a very high mental load that you have to carry. You may have to work overtime and long hours. It may impact your health. And I know for me, sleepless nights, big one for me, because I think, did I get everything? And your relationships could possibly suffer with your clients and your family. So, Davida, I see a question has come in. Is this, do we want to ask this at the time?
Oh, it was just about the recording, but we're going to send that out to
We
everyone. But everyone in the chat, Allison, is just absolutely agreeing with you. The
Yeah.
processes are
Yeah.
just so hard to change, so
Yeah.
difficult. And someone even said that they got client documents through Facebook. So
Yeah, see, Facebook Messenger, or sometimes, gosh, people will. So my mother is hilarious. She's very technical, very, very, very technical. She's 82, but she's crazy technical. And every once in a while, she goes completely off the rails and puts something on my Facebook wall, like on my Facebook page, not Messenger. So you just never even know what formats people are going to use. But the great news is this is all solvable, and there's a ton of stuff that you can do to have good days and set it up so that you're completely in control. So we're going to talk about the recipe now. And it is a formula. It's literally a recipe. So there's 3 parts to it. The first part is you're going to look at your human biology, because we are all beautiful biological machines, and we are all the same in that aspect. Regardless of our personalities and all of that. We have 1 part technology, and I think I alluded to that a little earlier. We have that loop of pain that can be solved with tech. And then the other thing is sharing, and that's where you really need to share and be part of a community. So The first thing that you need to understand to take back your day is that everybody's all the same. And the interesting thing is that we are hardwired to respond to someone else. So, especially a person in need. So what happens is when you get a text or you get a message or you get an interruption, you actually are, oh, and you want to help. The second thing is there's no such thing as multitasking. So you are unable, no one is able to do more than one thing well. And if you get interrupted, you get pulled off of that thing. So there's a penalty to being pulled off. It's called context switching. And the cost of context switching is huge because your brain has been pulled off. So you should not be multitasking. And the other thing is we're built to move. And so sitting is the new smoking. It literally is. And so given that we're built to move and very few of us can focus for more than 90 minutes at a time, you really need to build in movement. So we're going to cover that in a minute. And then the last thing is you cannot perform at peak if you are exhausted. And there's lots of really interesting TED Talks about that, but it is absolutely 100% true that you absolutely need to come in refreshed. So if you are if you need proof on any of this, the first thing I want you to consider is you're working on this complex problem. Maybe it's a really awesome spreadsheet and you're solving a lot of things. Or you're working your way through journal entries and trying to figure out how to fix a certain problem. How do you feel when you're working on it and all of a sudden, ping, 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 and you just like you get pulled off, right? And the cost of context switching can be as much as 25 minutes, meaning it can take you that long to get back up to where you were in that deep work when you've been pulled off. Then the other thing is ask yourself, and I'd love this to put this in the chat. When do you get your best work done? I bet you it's after hours. And why is that? Because there's no interruptions. So when you compare your off hour versus your work hour productivity, that tells you alone that if you are able to set it up so that you're not having the interruptions and you can have your time to actually do the deep work, then you get more work done. But I don't want you working off hours. What I want you to do is to shift it so that your productivity can be during your work, because you deserve a personal life. You deserve to have your evenings, weekends, and holidays off. And the next thing is to consider, how do you feel after you take a 15-minute walk? And I'd love it if you do show of hands how many of you do 15-minute walks during the day, because this is so important to keep yourself moving and to keep your blood flowing and keep your brain moving. It's just such an important thing. And then lastly, how do you feel after you've had a really great night's sleep? It's very different than if you come in exhausted. So we have some techniques here, some simple tips, how you can sharpen your biological tools. In other words, fuel your beautiful biological machine that you walk around in every day. And the first tip I have for you is you need to fill up your tank every night. Now, I've got an Oura ring there on the screen, and you can see mine right here. I wear it every day. And the reason I do is that it gives me the data that I need to know whether I have had a good sleep or not. Now, interestingly, I know when I have a good sleep because I wake up and I feel refreshed. But the Oura ring can give you that data because you then start to see the patterns. So I now know, I'll share something personal with you, that if I have a glass of wine after 5:30 or after 5 really, it's going to slam my sleep scores. So if I want to have a glass of wine, I have to have it at 4:30. So I've kind of become a day drinker, which is hilarious. I don't have it very often, but if I do want a glass of wine, I shift it to earlier in the day because then I know I can have my wine. And I live in California and there's amazing wines. So sometimes a nice glass of red wine is exactly what I want. But but I have to have it earlier in the day. And then I know. And the other thing is if I do choose to go out to dinner, and of course I'm not going to drink at 4:30 if I'm going out to dinner, and I'll have a glass of wine with dinner, I just know that the next day I'm not going to be as sharp. So I can kind of schedule my, you know. The other thing is Matthew Walker, PhD, has a fantastic TED Talk on, I think it's called Sleep, Why Sleep is Your Superpower. But basically he shows the research and what happens with deep sleep. So you must make sleep your very high priority. And if you do not remember anything from this presentation except this, this is the thing. This is the thing that's going to make the most difference in your life. Now, the second thing that makes a huge difference is to make fitness and movement part of your actual culture at work. So Davida and I, we work together. We often take walking meetings, and you can bring your phone along, and obviously you're going to be on your phone. So bring your phone along. You use a notes app, or you can use OneNote. OneNote has a fantastic because it's all linked together. So I can do OneNotes and share them with Davida, and we can collaborate, or I can do a OneNote and then come back to my desk, and that OneNote I can pull up on my computer. But our bodies have to move. And if you take a walking meeting once a day, you will significantly increase your physical and your mental health. The other thing is you need to get up and stretch every 30 minutes. So you want to maybe set yourself an alarm or a timer or something. So the ping and you get up. Now, the other thing is that you can give your employees and yourself a really cheap, really, really cheap fitness app, and Peloton is one I recommend. You don't have to have any equipment. So you see the gentleman there working out in his living room. You don't have to have any equipment at all. They have yoga, they have stretching, they have high intensity, they have obviously the bike if you have the bike, but you don't have to have the bike. So think how you can make fitness and movement part of your culture, because when you have everybody come in who's rested, and everybody has not only the permission but the expectation that they will get out and move, you will see productivity go up and you'll see everybody be much happier. And because this is something personal for me. Your mindset is super important as well. And building your own personal resiliency is a very, very important thing. Now, those of you that know me personally, you just know I've been through a lot of things. Probably the most notably is that I am a breast cancer survivor. And, it would have been very easy for me after a series of things to say, why me? But I never looked at it that way. And that was based on, I've been very lucky to have mentors in my life and people who've helped me question, well, why are you looking at it that way? Is there another different way you could look at it? But when you think about adversity, it does not discriminate. And I never felt that I was a victim or that I was singled out. I just thought, with this breast cancer thing, 1 in 8 women are going to get it. And I looked around and my 7 friends, and okay, I'm the 8th, right? So I wasn't singled out. I was like, well, there's a lot of us getting it. So developing and practicing the strategies to help you get through things, this has to do with choosing very carefully where you direct your attention. And if you focus on what you can change and accept what you can't, then you are able to have a more positive approach to things. Now, I'm not saying fake toxic positivity. I don't come into a day, yeah, it's going to be a great day. I don't do that kind of thing. I think instead what I think is, what can I control and what can I not control? And if I can't control something, how can I think about it in a different way where it's not going to take me down? So for me, I think it's more of an empowering thing. And I generally stop and ask myself when I'm having a little pity party about something, or I'm feeling very negative about something, or I'm angry about something. I then think, are my actions and thoughts actually helping me, or are they harming me? And I'll tell you, being really angry at somebody doesn't do anything to them, right? Or holding a grudge or a resentment, or you're basically renting space in your head for someone else. it doesn't help you, right? So they asking myself, gosh, I'm really angry right now. Why am I angry? What am I? And hilariously, a lot of times I'm angry. It's because I did something. I'm angry at myself. Oh, I wish I hadn't done that, right? So then I move through the process of, all right, well, that happened. I can't change it. What can I do about it? Do I need to do anything? Can I let it go? Whatever. But you get good at this. And then the last thing is, but the concept is really choosing where do you direct your attention, right? And then the last thing is looking for the gift. Now, this one is something that will probably take some practice if you've never done this, but there's always great learning when you've moved through a big challenge. And you want to find things as you go along to be grateful for and hang on to that. And the worst, most awful thing can happen to you, and you could still learn something really unbelievable that makes you a stronger person to move forward. And so I don't say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, although I think that is true. That's not the place that I'm coming from. But I do know that in any negative experience, there's always a gift. Now, it may take a while to reveal itself, and it may sometimes take years, but the idea is that anything really negative that happens to you or a challenge, you are going to learn something and you're going to be a more resilient and a stronger human being. And so that's what I mean by look for the gift. I do not mean that it was fun having to get the breast cancer diagnosis and then having to go through the treatments. That wasn't fun at all. But there were a lot of gifts along the way, a lot of things that I learned. And I think for me, the main thing is I learned I'm tough as nails. And so I thought, wow, I'm really a baddie. I am tough. So if you do that, so I offer this up about mindset because I think your mindset controls a lot of what happens. And it's easy in a stressful, chaotic environment to feel like you don't have control, but you actually do. And so reminding yourself about that is, I think, super important. Now, the second part of having a really great day is to set it up so that you can do the work that you love to do. And in order to do that, you need to tame your distractions. So there are 3 ways to do this. We're going to move through these fairly quickly because I want to make sure we have time for questions and things. But they basically break down into 3 buckets. You want to tame your digital distractions, the disruptions. You want to empower your staff. And for those of you that are on your own, think about it as just really empowering yourself. And so when I use the word staff or team, it can be 1 person, it can be 100, right? And then you want to tame your client interruptions. And to do all of this, you really need a focused process. So the first one is to tame your digital disruptions. And when you're doing deep work, and there is a great book by Cal Newport called Deep Work, and you should get it and read it because it's a very, very good book. You want to, when you're doing deep work, you want to first of all block your calendar, turn on that focus time settings so that nobody's going to come in and bug you. And you mute everything else. And you leave your alerts on only for direct mentions. And what I mean by a direct mention is if Davita needs me, she knows she can get me by @Allison. That'll come through all of the other things. But Slack or Teams or social media or these other channels, don't let them drive your day. You drive them, meaning you check them when it's good for you to check them. And if somebody really needs you, they can @ you and get you. But they should think twice before doing that. So you want to train your team. Like, is this well thought through, or are they just reacting in the moment? Is it sort of just off the cuff? Ask them if it's worth shifting your attention from what you're doing. And that cost of context switching, this says 15 minutes here, but it's actually 25 minutes. Well, 15 to 25 minutes, as it can be as much as 25 minutes. And then the non-urgent items can be addressed during reserved times, like maybe you all say from 1 to 2 p.m. I'm making this up. From 1 to 2 p.m. we're going to answer emails. I personally prefer to answer emails between 2 and 3, and that's because that is my lowest energy time of the day. And I can answer emails during that time, but I can't come up with really deep thinking during that time. So I pretty much, that's when I want to do it. But, or you could do it sort of on a low urgency channel. So the way that we have it with my CEO, Chris, is if we need him and it's not urgent, we send it by email. And then he looks at it. He likes to look at emails early in the morning when he's having his coffee. So, um, and I talked about the focus time settings. Turn them on when you're doing the deep work, and you want to reciprocate these behaviors with others. And this is super important because if you're the leader of the firm, your whisper is a shout. So you do not want to be peppering your team with things that could wait. And the reason is that you're going to pull them off. You're going to pull them off the deep work. And so in order for everyone to calm down and everyone to have a really good day, you want to make sure that you are living by this as well. So empowering your staff has to do with basically creating one place for them, like a single source of one place for them to see everything. And email is not the place. And the reason is that it makes it impossible to keep everyone in the loop, especially if you have a big team. And so it's not easy to share and track. Yes, you can forward an email. Yes, you can copy someone in. But have you ever tried to figure out, like, I don't know, Google sometimes, Google threads it, and we have the Gmail, the Google suite, and I love most of it. I love everything, the functionality of it, but that threading, and I don't know whether threading is worse than having separate emails. That can be worse too. But the problem is that to find something that was said or promised, ask yourself how much time you're spending trolling going through email. It's awful. It's a huge waste of time. It's very frustrating. And just so that you have this in mind, so that you understand how silly it is, ask yourself, like, can you imagine a sales organization running on email or a customer service organization? Like the sales organizations all live by in a CRM like Salesforce, right? And if a salesperson goes, the sale doesn't go with them because the history is in Salesforce. If a staff person goes now from your firm, everything goes with them, right? And so you want to basically make it so that all of your staff can see. So if you think about a customer service organization, that's really what you're in, right? And the team needs to be able to see across all your clients, all communications, tasks, documents, everything needs to be in one place so that any staff member can quickly see what a client needs and help. And so I think you need to think about these analogies and ask why most of you are still using email to conduct business with your clients. I think it is actually, I'm going to go so far as to say that email is the root of the evil that you're having, and all the other channels are just adding on to it. So having a single source of truth for your clients, your staff, is a huge win. And an example of that is, so that basically you think about a banking app, and I'm old enough to remember when I had to get to the bank and literally had to get to the bank. That was a thing I said a couple times a week. Sorry, can't talk. I've got to get to the bank because I knew I had to, take the checks and or any cash deposits, whatever. I had to I had to physically walk it over, get it in the bank, get in the line, do that all before the bank closed. Now, it's so easy to work with a bank, right? Because the bank basically gives you that one place to work with them, and it's an app, and you walk around with it, and you can self-serve, and you know that if you put a note in there, the staff will reply. Everything's in one place. You can deposit a check, and the clients love it, and the staff reap the benefits because there's only one place for them to look. They're not going to look, they're not going to answer an email. They're certainly not going to be on social media answering you, although they might have a different team. If you have a concern, you could ping them on Twitter or whatever, but they're certainly not going to put anything sensitive in there. But everybody's on the same page. So think of a banking analogy of like why you might want to consider rolling something like this out in your firm. And that's what Liscio, this presentation is not about Liscio, but that is what Liscio solves. And if you make your clients part of the solution and you make it easy for them, then this new loop happens. The client requests the work, you request the information, the tech, the app, because it's in their hand all day, right? The tech helps them get the data. The tech will remind the client so you don't have to hound them or whatever. Clients are more likely. So you get this positive loop, which is really, really helpful. But I think the biggest thing is your staff only have to look in one place. And so when you make it easy for the clients, they're going to make it easy for you. So that is the expected results of taming your tech. It's really, really, really important. And the expected results are the actual results, because it's actually, we hear this all the time from people, is that, well, we're walking, we're having walking meetings, we're taming the chaos, our interruptions, we're all acting differently with each other as a team. We're using, an all-in-one app to work digitally with the clients, and the anxiety levels immediately decrease. I think that's the biggest one, because people come in well rested, they have permission to move during the day. Productivity levels skyrocket because you're giving everybody time to focus on that deep work, and people don't interrupt each other. Now, number 3 there, the team will steadily embrace the changes. This is important because you need to be willing to redirect people. Like, if in the beginning, this is good, almost 2 years ago that we initiated these things at Lisio as a team, like internally. We still go off, we still get excited and ping people, and so then we gently redirect back. And so if one of your team or one of your staff people, you just bring them back, or if you mess up, whatever, you just bring them back. And then here's Cal Newport's 2 books. I think Deep Work and A World Without Email. If you're looking for reading material, these are very, very good books. So now let's talk about your action plan. So I'd like you to write down 3 things that you will immediately do after this webinar. And we're going to give you 30 seconds to do that. And while you're doing that, I'm going to just read through the chat. So Erica had a good one about the Peloton. Will these count as qualified? I think it's about the Peloton app. Will these qualified as if you offer it as a benefit, it typically should. I can't give tax advice, Erica, but I know that we do. I know that we do get reimbursed for that as an employee benefit at Lisio. Standing desk, love it. Standing desk is amazing. I have one. I sit, I stand, I sit, I stand. It's fantastic. Yeah, there's a lot of people saying here.
And we're coming up on 30 seconds.
Great. Yeah. So if any of you are willing to share some of the 3 things that you would do, that would be really helpful. I would love to know your feedback there. But I think it's important when you invest time in a webinar to really be very focused. And what do you want to do? What changes will you make in order to make the time very valuable for you? Yeah, Michelle is saying, I like the walking meeting idea. Great. It's so fun. And in fact, when Davida and I get off this meeting, we are going to go on a walking meeting. All right. So let's go ahead and recap. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is to tame the noise. And you want to control the digital disruptions that you are having, and really be very intentional about your time, so that you can create time, number 2, to focus. And so if you do 60 to 90 minutes of the hard work, and you know what time of day that you should do that, for me, it's always in the mornings. I am much more alert sort of from 9 to noon than I am from maybe from 9 to about 2. 2 to 3 for me, I feel like I've lost my brain, and then I kind of pick back up. So what I like to do is to either, answer the emails during my low period of time, but I definitely block when I have to do writing and I have to do complicated things, or strategy. I want to block 60 to 90 minutes during my peak energy period of the day. And then I build in movement. Those of you that have dogs, you're very lucky. Dogs need to be walked. And a 15-minute walk is a fantastic thing to be able to add, and with your walking meetings. And I really encourage you to do that. You can do it with clients, you could do it with your team. If you are a solopreneur, solo firm leader, walk and think. Think about a problem. Walk and see what happens, what comes loose when you think, or just walk and breathe, right? That's all right. You're allowed to take 15, 20 minutes, go out and do it. And then create those action plans to really solidify your vision. And you want to help your clients and your staff focus on what matters. And that is where Listio can come into play. You may want to schedule a demo of Listio to see what a game changer it is. And then we want you to join a community. You're probably a member of several communities, but we have a really cool one for you to join. And it's called The Grove. I am presenting today on behalf of The Grove. The Grove is a platform agnostic, meaning it's not all about QuickBooks or all about Xero, or Listio has a tiny, maybe 10% of the top. If you want to see Listio in action, you can take some of the courses there. But most of the courses are written by thought leaders that you will know and designed to help you solve challenges and problems. There's also a community attached to it, and you can join the community, and ask and answer questions. So Davida, I think you're going to put the link into the chat.
Yep, it's right there.
Yep. And Davida has put it in. That's great. All right. Oh, and Mindy's saying her action plan: order Cal's books, implement peer workflow, just walking in the middle of the day. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And Mary's going to take a real break and schedule that daily. Love it. Eileen, start doing 15-minute walking. Michelle, I like the walking meeting. Yeah. And there was some comments about standing desks. And so I love that. I hope we've inspired you there. And here's, I think you put the link in already. This is just an example of some of the training that you'll have in there. And that is the end of my presentation. I wonder if there are any questions or specific things that you'd like me to cover. I am happy to go ahead and answer them for you.
As we wait for people to put things in the chat, Allison, I think like we talked a lot about how to protect your time for that deep work. But when you actually get to the point of deep work, how does that feel?
Yeah, it's something, I think we all know it. You know it when you feel it. You know it when you do it. And there's an intense satisfaction. You actually get an endorphin rush when you're able to do very deep work, because it's so satisfying. And for everybody, it's a little bit different. I used to love when I was doing bookkeeping, I used to really love doing these gnarly schedules that the management would need in order to manage their businesses. Sometimes it was cutting and slicing and dicing the data in different ways so that it could, we could have a better conversation with the business owner. There's as I said, there's just a complete joy in I think for you, it just what excites you? When do you get like really excited? And for me, it was really gnarly spreadsheets, because I love it. I love when the data can tell the story. Yeah. Great question. Do we have any other questions from the?
I'm just seeing if anyone pops anything into the chat or the Q&A.
If not, we're happy to end a little early. There's no concern.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you all. Oh, we've got some questions. Oh, any advice on how to fire a client?
Thank you.
Yeah. So firing a client isn't, it actually isn't just as hard as you think. There are a number of ways that you can do this. This is something where you may want to get a bunch of different opinions in it, but But when I needed to fire a client, I usually would come with the data and say, you know, I'm going to call him, you know, Fred. You know, Fred, we've been working together for a while, and you know, my team is really tried to, you know, to work well with you, and this is what we've delivered for you. And however, what we're finding is that, you know, it's really not a fit, and this is because you need things that we're not able to offer, or you are, you know, it's difficult to say you. So it's better to say, you know, we focus on clients that need this, and you need that, and so, and then have a referral process. But it kind of depends on what Fred did. Okay. And Michelle, I can't see the rest of it. It just says any advice on how to fire a client, but nicely, especially if, but I can't see the rest of the message. So if you want, especially if they don't get your information on time. Yeah. So if they don't get your information on time, that's a little different challenge. And that one you can basically use, if you want, you can use a sliding scale and say, like, let all your clients know that when you get things in by this date, your fee will be this. If you get them in later, your fee will increase by XX, because we have to shuffle, work around, and we now are in a rush situation. I can tell you that Liscio will significantly speed up you getting information from clients, because it is so easy. And the easy part of it is they literally can use, there's a mobile scanner built in. So they literally can scan and send you documents, or drag and drop from their computer, however they want to do it. So you might want to look at what systems you're using, Michelle, and like, for example, I missed refinancing my mortgage because my mortgage broker insisted that I use this horrible portal, and I just couldn't use it. And so I ended up missing, and I'm now, you know, obviously their interest rates have gone higher. Luckily, my rate isn't too bad, so it wasn't like really tragic. But you have to come from an attitude of your clients want to send things to you, and they don't want to be, most of them don't want to be jerks. But if you find someone that is being a jerk, then yeah, then you know. And Mindy has a great suggestion. She says, Michelle, you can raise their prices until they leave. That is also a solution. However, if they do keep paying the higher price, then you've still got a problem child. So you want to, you know, you probably want to raise it to the point where you're like really, really happy to continue to serve them. But everyone should be raising their prices, actually. You all should be raising your prices. There is a lot of demand and not a lot of supply right now. Yeah. Michelle, you're welcome. Are there any other questions? We're happy to take anything and everything regarding to how you can have a really good day. If not, we'll give you a few minutes back. There's no worries at all. All right. Well, I think seeing nobody pop in. So, we have one more. Oh, just thank you. Yeah, thank you everybody for joining us today. I'm super excited. In the slides that we will send you, there are some screenshots of Liscio, but this wasn't a Liscio presentation, so that was why I didn't really go too deep in that. But we're delighted to have you. I hope you will join the Grove. And Mary, yes, wine does help having a good day. However, you got to know whether it's going to slam your sleep scores, because you could have a really good day and then have a terrible one next day. So, so that one, approach with caution. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and stop the webinar. I hope you all have a fantastic day. And I really appreciate your interactivity today. And I hope that I've given you some new things to think about. All right. Take care, everyone.